Hey, everybody, and welcome. My name is Eric Vittardi. I am joined here by Jackie Hart. We are here to show you a little bit today of a couple of things. Obviously, we are doing faster roofing estimates, safer jobs with the Edge and SafetyHQ. So Jackie's going to be the representative kind of talking you through the Edge estimating, and I'll be handling some of the SafetyHQ components with you today. But what's really important here is we're not going to have time to get to everything today. This is really designed to be just a quick presentation to give you a little bit of a feel for some of these items. So if these were items that were of interest to you, hopefully this can either spark some more questions or at least give you an idea of what you may or may not be looking for. That being said, we will present our information at the end of this. You will get a follow-up email. The best way to really get a deep dive and to really get an understanding of either of these products is to schedule an individualized demo. So again, it's kind of quick. It's over lunch hour. We're not going to have time to get to everything today, but we will give you at least a little preview, little trailer. And if you did have any questions, we can answer those at the end, but we certainly would encourage you to schedule some more time with us, maybe individually set up an individualized demo. We can go over, some pricing options, specific questions to your business, things like that. But with that being said, there is a few other things that we'll kind of manage before we get too far into here. I already kind of mentioned this. This is me. I'm Eric. Hello. I can help you with SafetyHQ as well as anything else HQ, WorkMax, Foundation related, what have you. And then here's Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome. Thanks for spending your lunch hour with us. We appreciate it.
Yep, we'll put these back up. You'll get this in an email at the end of the presentation as well, too. But again, just reach out to us afterwards, and we'd be happy to connect from there. And then what we'll cover today. Obviously, again, we're going to give you a little bit of an overview of everything that we can offer for you with a deep dive involved into SafetyHQ, then the Edge, and then we can do some wrap-up questions. So if you do have questions, you should see it in the top right corner of your display. Probably a little question mark icon. Send that over. They will appear. We'll get to as many of them as we can by the end of today's presentation as well. But as far as Foundation's portfolio, so I know we got people coming in from all over today, a lot of different perspectives, but the Edge Estimating, SafetyHQ are both owned and operated by Foundation Software. What is Foundation Software? What do you keep saying Foundation for, Eric? Well, Foundation Software is a flagship product. This all kind of began with our accounting software. This is a really robust job cost accounting software that can help your team manage, not only payroll, but accounts payable, receivables, the job costing items, get into the GL. There is a ton of depth on there too. So if you are looking to upgrade or solidify your accounting practices, Foundation's a great way to go. As far as some of the other offerings we have, I'm going to kind of bounce over to the top right corner and you'll see payroll for construction. That's a payroll service specifically for construction contractors. Now, for those of you that use Foundation, it just uses the Foundation payroll module. You press a button, we will issue paychecks, direct deposits, pay your taxes, all that kind of stuff on your behalf that any other payroll service would expect. But if you are not using Foundation, maybe using something like a QuickBooks or a Sage or any of those items, not a problem. We can still service you with payroll for construction as well. That's a great solution to pay your taxes, again, direct deposits, W-2s, garnishments, things along those lines as well. So if you are looking to simplify your payroll, that might be a good area to focus your attention on as well. And I'm bouncing you guys around, so hopefully you're hanging with me. The HQ Suite. The HQ Suite can be standalone products. You can purchase SafetyHQ whether or not you have Foundation, the Edge, anything like that. You can purchase it separate, but we do offer some really nice and favorable benefits and discounts if you are looking at multiple products with us. But this can handle things like your HR. This can handle safety, which we'll talk about today, all the way into project management as well. So if you want to get into some change order management, projects, scheduling, again, any kind of HR, performance management, pay stubs, things like that, HQ Suite's going to be a good place for you. Kind of going from the bottom left to right, we see McCormick. That's another estimating solution. Probably, if you're on this webinar today, it might not be a great fit for you. This is going to be more so focused for electrical, mechanical, and plumbing contractors. Whereas today's presentation and the edge, which Jackie's going to give us a lot more information, is going to be focused on some different specialty contractor areas. And again, those would include roofing, fireproofing, concrete, interior walls, ceilings, interior, exterior finishing too. So we'll hit that in plenty more detail. Same with the SafetyHQ. I didn't give you much on that because that's what you're here to see. And then finally, WorkMax. Again, is a standalone. You don't need any of these other items to purchase something like WorkMax. That's a mobile timekeeping solution for your team. Whether your team is entering time cards individually, whether a foreman or a crew leader is doing that, doesn't really matter. We can connect with your payroll services. We can connect with your accounting databases, what have you. It's a really great tool to manage things like facial ID, geolocation, make sure that the employees are where they say they are when they clock in and clock out. And really what we're doing there is eliminating all of your time card entry needs. So if you have a really big headache as far as the administrative component on there, that is a fantastic tool to help kind of eliminate a lot of that administrative work and save you a lot of money on leakage on employee hours as well. But with all that background, today we will talk a little bit on SafetyHQ. And with that, let me go ahead and pull up my screen. And you should see SafetyHQ here. So again, we can't get into everything today. I'm highlighting here too. We have inspections, JSAs, JHAs. You can do Toolbox Talks, certification tracking, a safety data sheet library, audit trails, all that. I'll give you a feel of just a few items as we get in here. But again, please, I would encourage you to schedule a full demo so you can get a real idea of how this works. But with that, I'm going to just jump right in. SafetyHQ is an app, iPhone, Android, tablet, whatever really works best for you and your team. You can access this from a web page. This is fully available in English and Spanish. This is also going to work in offline mode or online mode. So if you guys are working in areas with limited cell service or internet, not an issue whatsoever. You can do everything you need to do and sync that up automatically when you return to cell or internet. Now, I'll start with Toolbox Talks just as a quick example. And there's plenty of ways, especially if you use Foundation, some other tools. We can connect your employees, jobs, equipment items through a couple of different ways as you go. But the idea here is we want to make this as simple and easy for you and your team as we possibly can. I know safety isn't everyone's favorite thing to do. Trust me, I've done a lot of these demonstrations. I've been doing SafetyHQ for a long time. I know sometimes it's like pulling teeth. But the goal is if we can make this really simple and easy to use, your team will be much easier to adopt this. They'll spend less time dealing with safety, and then you'll have all the information, documentation you need to provide to a GC, a customer, to your insurance, and then again, of course, keep your team focused on the safety activities that really matter. I like to start with Toolbox Talks. This is a really nice kind of overview. Now, we have almost 400 Toolbox Talks in here. You can pick your own. Again, I mentioned the English and Spanish options here as you go as well, too. But you can pick your own. You can actually schedule this in advance. So if I say, hey, I want my foreman to be discussing this topic with their team, you know, next, I don't know, call it Monday. Can't believe we're in December already. But we'll go ahead and pick next Monday at 8. You can schedule as many Toolbox Talks as far in advance as you'd like. So if you have 15, 20 minutes and you want to schedule, you won't even need that much time, and you want to schedule well into the future, you certainly can. They won't get the notification until the date and time that you've selected. If I pick that topic that was assigned to me, I can hit this big yellow, cannot miss it, easy to find, easy to use yellow button. I take that button. I can select my project, which again could be coming from an accounting software depending on what you're using and things like that. I'll hit next. And then for me, I want to collect signatures for the team. So this is a really quick example in the interest of time today, but you can do this individually. You can do this in groups. You can take photos of the groups. But in this case, it does a really good job of collecting the participation. And because we have those employee names in here, it's going to tie back to their employee profile. So that way, if Peter or Brees, anyone are ever involved in an accident or something like that, we have that history automatically in here as well too. So with that being said, that's saved. That's automatically in the system. That's automatically organized by project, date range, company, division, things like that. I can select that toolbox talk that has been completed. I can provide a nice PDF that went on my other screen, but this could be a nice PDF with your company name, logo, imagery, colors, things like that. Share that off, email that off to whoever you need. That's going to be saved in the system, again, by whatever you need to sort and review it by. And then you can also track and manage how your team's doing. So if I want to see how my team's doing, my team's not doing a very good job right now. But that's why we got SafetyHQ, to see that Eric is an A student when it comes to the Toolbox Talks. And you can send off a nice little reminder to the rest of the team, keep them in the loop here as well. So a lot of tools on here. I go into depth on this one because this is how all of our forms work, right? We have fully customizable forms, whether those are JHA, site inspections, Toolbox Talks, equipment management. We can create all these forms for you. We have templates and examples based on your specialty and trade. So if you did want to, start from scratch, or if you don't have a really good example, use us. We can do that for you. And again, we do offer a lot of that kind of white glove assistance to build these for you, create these for you. That's not an issue whatsoever. But I will pick an example. So if I pick like a quick JHA, I hit the big yellow button. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pick a site inspection instead, because if I hit this big yellow button, that's going to pull up my form. Again, I can pick my projects. You can customize these forms however you need. We don't charge you per customization, things like that. But we can go through these forms, and all of these forms are going to include logic. So where that really comes out to is, hey, yes. I'm not dealing with safety harnesses on the job site today. Cool, I'm good. Oh, I am dealing with harnesses? Yes. Well, we have some more questions to ask you. So that's really important in that it's hard to keep the team focused on these items. And if you ask them a lot of questions that just really aren't relevant to what they're doing, they're going to lose interest. They're going to pencil whip it. You're not going to get good safety data in return. This is going to, again, use that logic based on what you guys need, all the way down to if I have an actual issue on the job site, let's just say, the guardrail cables aren't flagged appropriately. I can add that corrective action right in here. I can have that pre-populated. And this will notify all of the appropriate team members. This can be preloaded. So one of the biggest issues we see is people don't want to highlight their deficiencies because they need to call somebody, email somebody. They got to do all the legwork. This system's going to handle it all for you. Again, pre-populated, notify the appropriate parties. Heck, if you want to take a photo directly from your phone or your device, you can do that directly in the system as well. I'm just picking one of these fun stock images here as an example, but you'll see, I just pick some items here. Great. I can go ahead and mark that up, highlight it as necessary. I can manage those items, and then I can assign that out. I can give it a due date, and I can continue right back on with my inspection. So your team can notify all the appropriate parties, highlight those deficiencies or concerns, and then they can continue doing what they need to do. Now, I'll save this. I can complete this. The idea here is as soon as that's completed, the exact same items that I showed you for any of our forms in Toolbox Talks, they all work the same. They're all saved by project, date range, who submitted it, company division. And then you'll see in the reporting section, you'll have the same processes here as well too. So really convenient. If you know how to do a Toolbox Talk, you know how to do a site inspection, you know how to do an equipment inspection, all of it works the same way. And then all those items that you've highlighted in the corrective action area, those would highlight in here as well. So this would show any of my outstanding issues. I can address this by job, by severity, by deficiency type, things like that as I need from here. And then I'll actually also get some reporting and trend analysis here to show me what types of issues we've had, when they began, and how often they continue as well too. So yeah, if you do have some, in this case, PPE issues, we can focus in on that. We can track and manage trends based on time of the year. So rather than just kind of filling out the paperwork, ideally in SafetyHQ, this does provide you a tool to be proactive and be aware of issues that might be coming up in the future as well too. So Again, these forms are fully customizable. You can tweak those however you need. We have plenty of examples that you could work off of. The only other item that I'd show you in here, and then I'm kind of coming down the home stretch for at least what we'll see in the miniature version today, is if you did want to do anything related to equipment inspections, the form, the inspection is going to work much the same way. But once I pick this piece of equipment, that can actually also update in this equipment hub too. So you can see in here, by equipment item, if I go to this Ram 3500, it would automatically set the last inspection date. It would automatically set the next inspection date. In here, I can see any history related with this Ram 3500. I can see any inspections, repair requests. I can see who it's assigned to, what project it's on. And then in here, I can review my equipment by whatever I need, tags, projects, documents, things like that as well. Again, we could probably spend a whole hour, and we can do a whole webinar just on that piece, and I have. There's plenty of those out there if you want to see those as well. But again, just schedule some time, and we'd be happy to dig in a little bit deeper. There are a bunch more features on SafetyHQ. We have a very extensive SDS library. We have almost 5 million records in here. We can pull up some things like that as we go from here. So yeah, I can pull this up as I'm using SafetyHQ on my phone or tablet. I can pull up this safety data sheet here directly on my job site. I can actually do lessons and certification tracking here. So if you wanted to train your team, this is a really good tool to use as like an LMS. You can include videos, photos, what have you. You can assign this out to individuals. You can require them to complete a quiz. And then any completed trainings would track and manage in this certification hub as well too. So in here, you can see who has what certifications. If I pick Bill as an example, I can take his certifications. I can share those with a QR code, produce a certificate, email that off as you go as well too. And then you'll see, again, anything related to Bill. I can see any forms he's completed, his certifications, his equipment, any of those Toolbox Talks he's attended. You can see all that on the employee record as well too. But yeah, we'll send you notifications as certifications are approaching their expiration. You can include images or photos of their card or certificate here. You can bulk upload those. You can enter those individually. You can run some reporting on here if you need to get into that detail. A really good place to track and manage all your certifications, employees, who's expiring on what, when. And then, yeah, we have some document storage. There's some other things we can do at the project level, photo level. The last thing that I'll show you really quickly before we kick this over to Jackie is incident reports. Now, these can work much the same way as forms. I hit a big yellow button. I fill out location, worker information, details, maybe take some photos. I can mark those photos up. And then as soon as I hit submit, that will notify all of the appropriate parties that need to be kept in the loop. Me, as maybe the safety director or HR or somebody in the back office, I can see everything that my field employee collected from their phone or their tablet. And then in here, I can also go ahead and do classification, days away from work, treatment info, witness statements, some things like that. And then with that, you have full reporting and items in here as well. So you can see any outstanding issues. You can see reports and trends related to your accidents and incident logs, things along those lines. This will even go all the way through and produce you an OSHA 300A as well. So really the idea here is very simple and easy to use. Everything is simple and in one place, really one complete safety solution for you from there. But with that, that is just a quick overview. Jackie, would you like to share a little bit more information with our viewers today on the Edge Estimate?
Sure. Thank you, Eric. I'm ready to buy. Send me a link. I'll sign up. What I love about, thematically about SafetyHQ and the Edge, I mean, it's all in one. Everything's all in one. And that's what makes it, so efficient, so easy to use. And really for the teams, everybody's going to the same place to do everything. So tell me, am I sharing the right screen here? Am I on one screen?
I see takeoff and estimating. Is that you got your PowerPoint up for the Edge?
That's it. Okay.
Perfect.
Just making sure. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So thank you everybody for taking the time again during your lunch hour. While the edge does work in several different trades, those being listed in front of us: acoustical, concrete, drywall, ACE, fireproofing, etc. I'm really concentrating on roofing today. So again, like Eric said, if you are coming on to look at safety and the edge, but wanted to see edge in a different trade, please reach out and we'll go ahead and schedule an appointment to look at that specific trade and take a deep dive into the edge on your behalf. But for today, I am going to be talking about roofing, but in a high level. So the edge is an all-in-one estimating solution. What does that mean? It means that everything that you do relative to your estimate is inside the estimating edge. When I work with folks looking at the edge compared to what they're doing today, and I ask critical questions about, okay, walk me in a day of your life of how you bid, what I find is that so many companies have so many disconnects. In other words, you get that drawing, you do a takeoff in one program, you gather your quantities, you take the quantities, throw them into another program, potentially. Most of the time it's Excel, right? And then from Excel, you've got to reach out to your suppliers and you've got to get some pricing. So now you have a folder with your bid worksheets in there and your supplier pricing that you have to go and look at as you're building that estimate. And then you put all your numbers together, you have a bid worksheet where it's all your markups before you're ready to complete that bid and send it out the door. But even sending it out the door, you have to generate a proposal in most cases. And that's usually a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet. So you have another disconnect. So all in all, there could be 3, 4, or even 5 disconnects in the workflow to you having to build an estimate and complete it and get it out the door. So when we say all-in-one bidding system, from the very beginning all the way through even your proposal, because as we have listed here in the different various aspects of the edge, there's a proposal writer in the edge. So you get your bid, you start your job, you upload your drawings, you do your takeoff, you do your pricing, you look at your labors, you look at your markups, you're getting your pricing from your suppliers inside the edge as well through a vendor quote capability. And then you're generating a proposal and sending it out the door. So again, everything in one place makes everything a lot simpler. We also have a job site app called Edge on Site. Not here to show it to you or speak deep dive into it today, but again, it may be something else that you want to take a look at. It allows you to track your productions on the job, so reconciling your actuals on the job in the field as opposed to how you bid them. And then we also have what we call smart labor technology, where you can manage labors in a lot of different aspects by setting up the formulas and then plugging in the variables automatically assigns the appropriate productions. So again, we can deep dive into that when you're ready as well. So I'm going to go ahead and shift to a screen in a different PowerPoint here. So bear with me for a moment. I just want to read it to you because it's something that it really it resounds loudly for a lot of people, because a lot of folks are saying, you know, it takes me so long to get a bid out the door. You know, how can the edge help me there? And what we hear from folks consistently is a 30 to 90% uptick on your ability to get a bid out the door in a streamlined, methodical, controlled environment. So this little sentence here or statement here really says a lot. It pays for itself with the first job. What used to take me 10 hours to perform a complete takeoff, with labor and material total now only takes me to 30 to 45 minutes. No mistakes. The edge gives me peace of mind and helps me save thousands of dollars in preventing material shortages and tracking labor. Once your edge database is set up, I use the term loosely plug and play to the extent that the formulas, the numbers, the calculations on how the materials are calculating, and again, the amounts, and then the pricing, because you're getting that real-time pricing from your supplier if you need to, is automatic in the edge, and you can protect it. The edge is a permission role-based system, meaning that once your database is set up, you have the ability to lock it down so that while you want estimators in there doing a job, creating their bids, they can only work within the sandbox of that bid that you've created for them. So they can change pricing, they can change productions, they can change markups, but they can only save those changes inside that bid. They cannot publish the changes back to the global estimating database that resides in the cloud. So the Edge is a cloud-based program. You can access it anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet connectivity and the ability to access the program. It means you can start the job in an office. You can check it into the cloud, where we're backing up 5 layers deep every 15 minutes in the cloud, and then backing up locally on the device that you're building the bid on. But you check it in at the end of the day, you go home, you decide you want to continue working. You can now check it out of the cloud and continue to work. Collaboration is a big feature as well amongst a lot of teams, where you can have more than one estimator working on the same job at the same time, but in what we call different sections. So in the Edge, there are 6 steps to building an estimate. Oftentimes when I meet with folks and we go through your estimating process, you really are navigating those 6 steps, but you probably haven't actually officially named them 6 steps. In the Edge, the first step is setting up the job. That's starting the bid, bringing in drawings if you have them, and then selecting what it is you're going to go measure. Step number 2 is to go measure. Step number 3 is to look at your labor. Step number 4 is to look at your pricing. Step number 5 is to look at your recap report, and then step number 6 is to look at all your reports, generate those, generate your proposal, and send it out the door. So I went ahead for the sake of time here, and I started a job, which was step number 1, setting up the job. And so I named the job. I called it Faster Roofing Estimates. It's in my scenarios tab, and I brought in my drawings, what it was I was going to go measure. So still inside of step number 1, I'm setting up the job. This larger rectangular box called conditions is your assemblies, your items, or your details, as you may refer to them. In the Edge, we call them conditions. Fully loaded and pre-populated out of the box from day 1 is a comprehensive roofing database that represents all your major manufacturers and their roof systems broken down by each manufacturer. This is my demo database, and I have a lot of things in here that may or may not apply in your world of roofing. But as a salesperson demoing the Edge, I've got to be able to go anywhere in the world of roofing. So I have everything from wall panels to low slope, steep slope, liquid applied membranes. I've got waterproofing. I've got even tapered insulation, standing seam, and wall panel add-on modules. Today, we're going to stick in the single ply world, and we're going to hone in on a particular manufacturer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my drop down here, and you can see we've got a variety of different manufacturers represented. And I'm just going to grab a Carlisle Sherwell TPO Master for no other reason than that's what my eye landed on, and that's what I'm grabbing. In the center column here, under the word conditions, we have a list of all the assemblies or items that would make up that roof system. When we work with you to onboard, implement, and train, we flush out the roof systems that are your go-to, the manufacturers and the roof systems and the world with which you live in the world of roofing. And we go through those masters, those line items, and we go through every detail and we'll look at the formulas, look at the items that make up that assembly, and then finally save back a master in your database so that every time should you go to a Carlisle Sherwell TPO master, it is like a plug and play. The starting point's at a 90% mark. So the changes that you make to prepare to go take it off and build the estimate are minimal based on the details and specifications of that particular job. You're never starting from scratch when you go to bid a job. Now, you may have an Excel spreadsheet, but it could have hundreds and hundreds of line items in it, where once you get your quantities taken off from a different tool, you now have to go in and you go into that spreadsheet and you have to find the line items and the details, and then you plug in the quantities there. Here, you're grabbing the roof system, and the takeoff will drive your estimate, as you'll see in a moment. So I'm just going to grab a couple different line items here. I'm going to take a tear off so that for re-roofing, you can see some of the elements that the Edge addresses as well. And I'm going to just take a wall flashing, a curb, a walkway pad, and a roof drain. And I've specifically selected those because I want you to see quickly how the Edge addresses area, length, and count conditions. So once I select those, it adds them to my page. I didn't bring in any general conditions, and I didn't go into any other details. Again, for the purposes of this demo, I'm keeping it pretty high level. When I click on the first line item, the mechanically attached TPO, it opens up what we call condition properties. Condition properties are the items that make up that assembly. So remember, this is my demo default database. So by default, my items say that I've got one perimeter sheet, which is a 5x100 roll length with an end lap of 3 inches, side lap 6, and it's the Sure-Weld Range Standard TPO 60 mil. My fastening pattern 6 inches on the center. For the field of my roof, I've got a 10x100 roll, end lap, side lap 6 inches, and again, that 60 mil TPO. Fastening pattern 12 inches on center. And for my roll fasteners, I've selected a 3.5 inch length. It's the APX fastener. And here where it says pieces in the carton, you'll notice that it says 1,000. The reason that's in there is as you do the takeoff and the edge is building your estimate, it's also building a price sheet for you, a material price list. It needs to know how you order things in order to tell you you need 2, 3, or 4 cartons, depending on how many pieces are in the carton and the area that you've measured. So based on a 3.5 inch length fastener, I know there's 1,000 pieces in that carton. If it was a 7 inch fastener, there may only be 250 or 500 in that carton. So obviously the carton count would change when I get to my price sheet. I can tell the edge what I'm fastening to, and then of course the plate type that I've selected. Wherever you see the blue boxes with the little white dots on any of the screens, that is a pick list or a lookup containing all the other manufacturer materials that you can go in and swap out for, again, the specifications or details of that job. So here I'm in Carlisle, but I can scroll all over the place and you're going to see all the other manufacturers that I also have in the system. And the lookups apply to every section. So you'll notice, I have them on my roll fasteners. So if I click here, I can go ahead and select a different roll fastener as well. Along the top, I've got a couple of these tabs highlighted. Typically, the rule of thumb is anything highlighted is applicable to the condition/assembly I'm in. So I've got my insulation here. I've got my fastening pattern for my insulation. If this was adhered, I'd simply turn the fasteners off, and this would be an adhered layer of ISO. So again, using these on-off tabs allows you to change that according to the details of the job. I've got miscellaneous where I've got, my bonding adhesive is off, right, because this is a fasten system, and then I have some add-ons. Looking at the tear off real fast, and again, I'm not going to go through all these conditions with you. The whole point here is for you to look at enough to say, hey, this is worth really taking a deep dive into, and we would look forward to having that opportunity to meet with you individually. But on the tear off here, you'll notice I've got a default of the 3 inch vertical height on my core sample. When I go to the miscellaneous, it's showing me that the edge is ready to calculate how many dumpsters I'll need based on the roof area I'm tearing off. I could also get very specific and tell it what kind of material I'm tearing off, and I can tie a production on my labor to that. And you'll notice this changed in green because it's saying, hey, these two are attached together, right? Because when I measure the roof area, that's going to be my tear off. Those are the same calculations. So step number 1 is setting up the job. Start the bid, bring in the drawings, and select what it is you're going to go measure. Step number 2 is to go measure it. So when I click on the icon over there, it's going to bring up my drawing. For those of you who use a takeoff tool, you would readily recognize the different icons. Nobody has the, owns the market on the icons, the symbols. And it is saying, hey, you have no scale. I happen to know this is a 1/4 inch scale, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and calculate scale. But when we train and work with you, we always say, hey, you really need to go around and calculate scale. I'm just going to simply go around and I'm going to measure just the roof area. Again, I'm not going to go through all of the conditions/assemblies I brought in, just the one here. I'll hit enter, change my fill so that we can see that, in fact, I did measure something. Bottom right-hand corner, the edges told me I've measured about 3,500 square feet, click 240 lineal feet. ST segment terminators are my corners, of which I drop down on 4 corners. When I go back to the screen prior, the edge, by the way, is meant to be used on multiple monitors. So if you were sitting with me side by side, you'd see that I actually have 3 monitors at my desk. Minimally 2, but in roofing, we typically will see 3. When I go back to the screen prior, you'll notice that the edge transferred the square footage to both the roof area on the mechanically attached TPO, as well as a tear off, right? They're the same calculations. So step number 2 is to measure the job. Step number 3 is to look at my pricing. So when I click on the $ here, the Edge has now begun to build out my material list. And there is a lot of stuff going on here. In fact, you can look at this screen in a variety of ways. There's a drop down here. I keep mine pretty broad, pretty basic. So to the left of this vertical line is information about my material items. To the right is information about my pricing. And again, when we spend time with you, we'll drill down into this to further explore all the details that are available to you. But you'll notice rolls, squares, gallons, boxes, which again was my point that I wanted to show you how the Edge will represent area length and count on bringing back pricing to you. The account code over here, the reason that is in there and the account code description is Foundation being our flagship product, we actually integrate to Foundation. So for those companies who use Foundation software and then use the Edge, it's your account code, cost code, phase code that does the handshake between any of your tax class markups, your material, labor, subcontract equipment, and other. And so you can export your budget directly into Foundation, again, eliminating that disconnect between what happens in the estimate, you're awarded the job, now you've got this bid, you've got to set up a budget. You no longer have to do it manually if you use both Estimating Edge and Foundation accounting software. So step number 3 was pricing. Step number 4 is labor. Now, my assumption in showing you the Edge today is that you are you have your own crews and you're managing your productions against all your different conditions, assemblies, items, details, etc. But if you subcontract out, you'd have your general conditions. There's a few different ways you could look at subcontracted labor. Again, today the default is that I have my own crews. The Edge will allow you to look at labor however you want to look at labor. So here we have a tear off. I've got 2 constants on each line item. I've got my quantities and I have how much I'm paying, but everything in between is a variable and I can change things all along the way to tweak up my labor. Step number 5 is my recap. My recap is where all my tax class markups again come together. So here I'm looking at my roofing materials, my labors, my equipment, my warranty, my overhead, and my profit. Some of your markups are hard coded. In other words, if you always work in the same geographic location where taxes on materials is always going to be the same, then we're going to hard code that tax for you. But maybe you have a particular job that delivery is difficult. You've got a big hill and a bunch of curves and then buildings and whatnot. And so you want to put a delivery markup on something on the fly, go ahead and do it. It's easy to do. And again, we go through all this with you, both in the demo and then in your setup. So here I just added 10% on the markup. This was not cumulative. Of course, cumulative would have been on the subtotal of the materials and the taxes, and then a cumulative amount would be on that blended rate together. On burdens, I default in my demos always to 50%, but again, there's a lot of different calculations that run into your burdens. We discussed that with you. And then on my overhead, I'm at 15% profit, 25%. Maybe you don't look at it as a percentage. You can look at it a lot of different ways: profit to sell, per hour, per crew day, per man day. And there's a bunch of great data over here as well. In the last couple tabs that I was on the pricing, on your labors, and on your recap screen, you can export those into Excel as well, right on the fly, and look at some numbers in Excel if you prefer to. I always point out my costing units. This is really powerful stuff here. And then the breakout of my hours. And I always mention to people, keep in mind, all I did was a simple square. I just took off a square and I'm getting all of this data. So step number 6 in the Edge is my reports. There's a lot of reports, and I always coin them as being 2 sides. The front side of this are the reports that generate as you're inside your estimate. There's also cloud reporting. So cloud reporting is on the back end in your portal. And when you want to access cloud reports, you don't even need to log into the Edge to do that. You could be standing on a job site, take out your mobile device, go to a website address, put in a login and password, and you can access all sorts of reports. So again, it gives you a lot of flexibility in getting to the data as you need it, when you need it. So the drawing report, again, I only measured 1 condition, but nonetheless, just showing you how quickly it'll generate here. And it would have your company name, your logo, Here's our drawing report. This particular report can be exported Excel, PDF, or Word. So here's what I measured. And then I get a really nice material drop on top of that. A couple of the other reports that are pretty popular, condition detail report. And again, reports are customizable, so we can change those up on the front end and back end. This is breaking out that singular condition on the materials and the labors, and this one can be exported with CSV, Word, PDF, or Excel. A consolidated report is like your schedule of values, really nice report. Again, there's a ton of them in here. I'm not going to go through all of them. One that has become pretty popular again is the stocking report, what goes out to the job site and potentially what you might return. And again, I'll just reiterate that all I did was measure a box, and I'm getting all sorts of data in here. Recap summary, again, a really good report. That'll generate here for us momentarily. And there's a bunch more stuff going on in here that I'm not going to get to show you today. There's zones, there's image overlay. I didn't go into the vendor quote capability, but I'm going to go ahead and check in my scenario now. There's just a couple more things I want to show you. I'm going to go into my portal over here. And when I go into my portal, one of the reports that has become super popular is an interactive budget report. So here, when I click on the three dots, you'll notice our foundation export right here, but here's my interactive budget report. So I'm going to go ahead and generate this report just so you can see, again, the ease with which you can get to the data and share it throughout your organization. So here's my budget report. This is based on my user codes, providing me my budget. I can go ahead, export this CSV, PDF, or Excel really, really, really fast. Finally, the proposal generator. So when we work with you to onboard and train, at some point in that training event, your trainer is going to say, okay, so let's look at your proposal. So it is your Word doc, your Excel doc, and you're going to upload that into the Edge. So for today's demo, I'm using Jackie's proposal, but once your proposal is uploaded into the Edge, there are about 140 different fields of information that can be tagged so that they automatically merge every time you generate a proposal. So I'll go ahead and generate it. In the upper right-hand corner over here, here's my sample proposal. And mine's very basic, but nonetheless, you get the idea. I put in the bid number was today's date. The address I had put in, I didn't put owner information. There is a contact database on the back end of this thing as well that you could set up. And this is a Word document, so type whatever you want as you need to if there were a field in there that wasn't tagged that you needed to include. But it gives me my contract amount and my subdivisions. So again, from the very beginning of your workflow in building an estimate, everything is done inside the estimating Edge. Keep in mind, again, the feedback 30 to 90% uptick on your ability to get a bid out the door in a streamlined, methodical, controlled environment. For most people, I submit, you're not going to be at 90%, but if we can give you 50%, that's game changing in your ability to increase, your bids, how much you're doing, and or free up time for you to go do something else. So with that said, Eric, I appreciate you taking the lead here at the beginning, and I'm going to throw this back to you now. You're on mute.
That is a great call. Thank you, Jackie. Again, guys, I know we went through this very, very quickly. Jackie and I both have a whole bunch more to share with you. So we don't expect you to have that all figured out and understood in just the 20, 30 minutes or so that we had today. So yeah, please, here's our contact information. If you do have any questions, we would love a follow-up, and we'd be happy to help you with any additional questions or scheduling a targeted demonstration as well too. That being said, I know we got just a few minutes here. We got a minute or so here, so I'll try and get to, I see 3 questions that I'll get to, and then if you do have any additional questions, feel free to ask them later, but or shoot us an email. The first question, I'm a little bit late on this, but for Maurice, is SafetyHQ accessible in the mobile application? Yes, it is. Tablet, whatever you need, you can use this wherever you're doing these items. If it's a job site evaluation, you can absolutely do that wherever you need. And then Jackie, I got one from Lester here. is the edge estimating a cloud-based solution?
It is. Yes, it is. So when you become a client, we send you an email that says, welcome to the edge. You click on a link and it begins to self-deploy desktop, laptop, tablet device. There's 3 databases that sit in the cloud: your jobs database, your estimating database, and your images database. And then a whole slew of other things: your users, your roles, your reports, a bunch of other stuff. So the long answer was that. The short answer is yes, it's cloud-based.
And then I think this might be the last question we'll get a chance to get to today. And I'm not sure who this is directed for, but I figure like it's probably a good one for both of us to ask. We'll start with you, Jackie. They're asking about support, training, things like that. Can you speak a little bit more about, if somebody has a question once they've started with the edge and the kind of support that they could receive?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and proud to answer it because we have an outstanding.
Thank you, Daryl, by the way. That's a good question.
It's a great question. So once you're onboarded, implemented, and trained, when that is officially over, it's unlimited technical support. We don't cap it to any amount of hours a day, week, or month. When you need us, you reach out. Interesting that all of our team, whether it be on the sales side, your implementation managers, your customer success teams, we all publish our cell phone numbers. That really says a lot. At the edge, when you become a customer, you become part of our family. And so your success becomes our success. I would invite you to ask your colleagues and those that you compete with in a friendly way or whatever, and those that who are using the edge, ask them about our tech support. I think you'll find amazing overview and great feedback there. So that's a great question, because I could have the best program out there, which I believe we do, but if we don't teach you and train you and support you well, then it's worthless.
Yeah, and I can support that. Jackie and I have been at plenty of trade shows and what have you together, and I can't even count how many times people have come up, hey, Jackie, nice to see you. Oh, hey, and Jackie will introduce me. I've had so-and-so on the edge for 25 years or 20 years or 10 years, or longtime clients that really enjoy that kind of experience between Jackie, John, all of our team over there. Again, they got a Rolodex full of folks that they've known for a long time. But as far as the support for SafetyHQ and really any of the HQ products, pretty much the exact same. It's all going to be through Foundation Software, through our support team. That is unlimited, that is uncapped. There's no additional charge for any of that kind of stuff. We're happy to help you, and we want to get you through it every step of the way as we can too. So with that being said, unless you got anything else, Jackie, I think that kind of brings us to the end of the road here. Again, you guys, I would certainly encourage you to reach back out, but otherwise, Jackie, unless you got anything, I would just say thank you guys all for joining, and we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully we'll have a chance to chat with you prior to the holidays. But if for some reason we don't, have a happy, healthy, blessed holiday season and New Year.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.